Okay, hey guys, what is going on? Welcome to another episode of Pretty Sneaky Stuff, Conspiracies for Dummies. This podcast is devoted to just having a lot of fun talking about conspiracies. Myself, Chris, my co-host over here.
Hey, how's it going?
Jefferson Smith, and last but not least, the lovely Britta.
I just have one thing to say to Louis C.K. Stop stealing my moves. No, I would hate myself if I took credit for that joke. It's a variation on a Norm Macdonald joke.
Wow. All right. Well, shout out to Norm Macdonald, and shout out to Jefferson for doing that. Okay. So, guys, what I really like about this podcast / live show is the fact that none of us are fucking experts whatsoever. I mean, Britta,
for sure.
Yeah, Britta's not even interested in this subject at all.
That's not true. I'm very interested in this subject. My mic is off, isn't it?
No, it's not.
It sounds like it. There it is.
All right. No, yeah, it's Britta's our sort of resident skeptic, and we're not trying to convince or, sway anybody's opinions either way. It's just that Jefferson and I, we like to do research. We like to figure stuff out, and maybe you guys will like what we find.
Yeah, I mean, with the whole conspiracy world, there's so much disinformation going on that who knows what to believe. So yeah. I say this all the time, but I've never been more confused as to what's going on.
I was confused once, and it was in college, and it was a really weird time. I was sitting here wondering if I should say that joke. Anyway, guys, we're talking about pyramids. Pyramids. Now, pyramids are more than just, those four-sided pointy things in the sand. They are incredible, and there's such a shroud of mystery around them that no one really knows what's going on for sure.
Yeah. I mean, myself, I've never been totally interested in this, topic. But just in my research in the past couple of days, I just found out, I didn't realize this, but it's still a topic that is being studied. Scientists, archaeologists, even physicists are, still to this day, like really interested in what's going on. And they find that they're going up against some people in the governments where these pyramids exist. They're seeing some pushback, so it's quite interesting.
Yeah, and I just want to say shout out to Laura Reach Nirvana, Pete Soler 26.
Hi, Laura.
And Yoshi for President 8. What's going on, guys? Thank you for stopping by. We're talking about pyramids today. So I think, Britta, do you know anything about the pyramids at all?
I know that they're in Egypt.
Okay, all right.
There are some in
I
Egypt.
watched a movie once. It was called Despicable Me, and there was a giant inflatable pyramid in it.
All right.
Because it got stolen.
All right. Well, oh, Jesus. Okay. So we have a lot of information to get through. So I'm going to lay the foundation for what we're talking about today, and then we'll get into the weird stuff. So first off, as of November 2008, which is, about 10 years ago pretty much, there are 118 to 138 identified pyramids in Egypt alone. I thought for a period of time there was only like 3, but...
That's what a lot of people think.
Yeah.
All the pictures are just of like the 3 together.
Yeah.
It is kind of weird to me that, that's kind of how our education is, that most people don't even really bat an eye at what a pyramid, what they are, and they don't they don't realize how many there are. So
so what these things were used as, they were used as tombs, burial grounds, sort of shrines where they can lay their pharaohs to rest, and the pharaoh was just pretty much the most important guy at the party back in Egyptian times. So the earliest pyramid in Egypt was the pyramid of, and I'm going to mess this up, I want to say, I think that J makes an H sound. What do you guys think? Djoser?
Go for
Dozer.
Dozer? Djoser?
Dozer.
Djoser. It was constructed in 2620 BC. So
that was a long time ago.
That was.
And just for the folks at home, this is the alleged facts. These are what the mainstream people will tell you.
Ooh, we're already getting into the conspiracy side of it.
Mainstream.
I'd like to think that I was mainstream at one point. Here we go. The Pyramid of Khufu at Giza is the largest, and currently is the only one of the 7 ancient wonders of the world still in existence today.
Mm-hmm. Still standing. And for anyone who really has absolutely no idea what this thing looks like,
we have that right there. So you
I
can
like
see
that building, just like chilling next door.
that one.
Yeah.
It's like a sports complex. Looks like you can play mini golf or go kart in there.
Well, they
Indoor
have to
soccer.
do. They have to do a lot of maintenance and stuff. What they do is
Yeah, look at it. It's like falling apart.
they open up the pyramid for a year or so for tourism, and then a year or so for rehabilitation.
I did not know
fixing
that.
Things.
I
Yeah.
did not know that either.
Yeah.
This thing was made out of 2 million blocks.
Yeah.
That's a lot of blocks.
And not only is it the biggest pyramid, but it's probably the most interesting, and we'll get into that later.
Yeah. So basically, just to give you guys an idea of how big the pyramid is. So our Statue of Liberty is 300 feet high. Or 300 feet high. The Pyramid of Giza, Khufu exactly, is about 450 feet high, and the base is about 756 feet, sort of around. So that's a big lady. That's a big lady that just came out of nowhere. So where are these things located? Britta, you said they were in Egypt, right?
Yeah.
Are they anywhere else? Do you know of?
Not that I can think of.
Atta girl. Okay, your schooling has done you well.
In my defense, I went to many different schools. There were lots of gaps in my education.
Well, Laura reached Nirvana comes with us with a fact over here. Each block of limestone weighs about 2.5 tons and was estimated to have taken an average of 10,000 people for the construction of one pyramid.
Hardcore. Wait, I know about limestone.
Okay, she's a geologist.
Yes, I'm an earth science major. We're studying that in school right now.
So what I think is crazy, right, is that pyramids, okay, so they're in Egypt, right? But they're everywhere else. They're in Peru. They're in Mexico. They're in the Sudan. They're in Guatemala. South America is pretty much overrun with these friggin' things.
Wait, the
Yep.
Mayan pyramids are the same thing?
Well, yeah, if we take a, yeah, they're yeah, so,
Oh.
we have, for example, the Chichen Itza right over here. How are you going to tell me it doesn't fit the bill of a pyramid?
It's got stairs.
Yeah, they were just really lazy. These guys, the Egyptian ones, had to crawl. But yeah, so we have such things as the Chichen Itza. We have the Pyramid of the Sun at Jefferson. I'm gonna look to you for help for this pronunciation. Teotihuacan. Teotihuacan, which Teotihuacan is a city that spans about 5 miles.
It's in Mexico, right?
Yep. 7 miles, actually. And it's full of these little baby pyramids. And at the middle, there's the Temple of the Sun. And there's also a Temple of the Moon. Sounds like a Pokemon sort of game going on here.
Yeah, there's a pyramid in Machu Picchu in Peru.
Yeah.
They say
Tikal.
actually most of the pyramids are in South America.
Yeah, there's about 300 pyramids in South America. This one spans 45 acres around.
Yeah, they didn't really realize that this was a pyramid for a long time. They thought it was just a hill.
Yeah, this is in Puebla, Mexico. It's called Cholula. 45 acres.
That's huge.
My parents had 3 acres growing up, and I thought that was, a lot. 45? Ugh. I just think that's really crazy.
Just for a structure, supposedly for a burial.
Yeah, it's like what's going on with these. So once we learn about where they are, we're going to learn about what's going on the inside. Now, what I think is really interesting, the United States doesn't have one single pyramid in its entire landscape.
Are there any in Russia?
I don't know, but there's more than 200 in China. So I'm assuming. Yep.
There's kind of a wild conspiracy theory that there's pyramids in Antarctica even.
Ooh.
So
Ooh.
you guys might want to research that.
Yeah. So there's not one in the United States, but there are burial. Oh my God! Someone say the word. I can't say it.
What word?
Burial mounds.
Oh, burial.
Burial?
I don't know why I couldn't say that.
A burial vault.
But guys, these things aren't just on land; they are underwater.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
I did not know that at all.
Yeah, and so we got this guy named Scott Waring, right? And Scott Waring is a known, quote, abnormality hunter, end quote, which I think is an amazing nickname or title.
Sounds like a fun job, right?
Yeah, you can hunt abnormalities. Granted, you're probably not getting paid a lot for it. But he was checking out Google Earth along the coast of Florida. and he witnessed this right here. If I plug this into Google Earth, which I do have, I'm gonna pull that up. I'll put my. All right, and we're going off the coast of Florida, people.
Really?
What?
Yeah, so we got these things hanging at the bottom of the ocean here. These things are just chilling down here, and it's sort of driving everyone wild because no one.
Could it be argued that these do technically exist in the United States, or are they in international waters?
I think this is.
Well, close enough, right?
That's pretty. I mean, there's New Providence Island.
That's the Bahamas.
So I don't think that.
No, it's Bermuda.
I don't think that qualifies.
Okay.
You're right, NASA Bermuda.
Yeah, so I don't think that qualifies. Let's resume back in here. Yeah. So we got these two guys right here, and so a lot of people say that the reason that these were sort of able to be seen so well is that the ocean, right? It's really good at the ocean's really good at preserving things.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
There's no wind. There's really no rust. Aside from the occasional tidal wave, I think everything's going to be fine.
Well, I mean, one thing that's interesting about the construction of a pyramid is that they're constructed in a way that, are really good at withstanding things like earthquakes, and it's really based upon how they're made, how they're built.
Alrighty, what is going on here? So, all right, so Laura is talking about how the blocks were moved, and I believe Jefferson might. Are you going to go into that a little bit?
Oh, well, I mean, not in depth. I mean,
Not in
just
depth.
the idea that some of these blocks that weigh, hundreds of tons, thousands of tons, right?
Yeah, 2.5 tons
Or
each,
two-
apparently. Yeah, but it takes
thousands
2
of
million.
pounds.
Yeah, 2 million of them.
So, I mean, you could think, the alleged story, the mainstream story is that, slaves pushed all of these along. It's perhaps that's what happened, but as we'll get into later, there's a lot of theories in how it was actually done, because you think about today, in today's day and age, if you think about our economy, the idea that a pharaoh is going to spend all of this money, all of this manpower, all this time and really money to build just I'm going to go and build this thing, just a cool place to die. It really doesn't make sense.
Who doesn't want a cool place to die?
Listen. First of all, weren't they all slaves? So,
Well, that's the alleged story. Yeah.
yeah, I mean,
We'll get into a couple of alternate theories later if you want.
So, hey, Monish84, welcome aboard. There's an airport underwater too. Monish, we're going to talk about that right now.
We are?
Yes, we are. We are going underwater again, but really quick, my friends. So these two pyramids right here. People say that they look a little bit different. And what I mean by that is, we go to underwater. We go to. Is it underwater one? Yes. Okay. So someone out here outlines now. The argument is this looks like a traditional four-sided, Egyptian pyramid, and this sort of has those steps that Britta talked about with that Chichen Itza picture that I do not. There it is. So some people are saying that it looks more like a step sort of pyramid, with indentations intentionally on the side. Side by side, so two different ones possibly built side by side.
Cool.
Others are saying it could just be formation. Someone said it could be the ballast of a ship. All I know is that is there, and it's pretty wild. So that's off the case of Florida. Now in Argentina. Oh, and by the way, here's the kicker for this. Ready? Here's the kicker for this. If we look at where this picture is, it is the Bermuda Triangle.
Wow.
So,
Did someone lose the pyramids?
Yeah, that was yikes. And you think I tell bad jokes? Yeah. So and these two, these things are in the Bermuda Triangle. So that's just adding to the whole skepticism and the whole freakiness of it. What that means, I don't know.
Could be a theory as to the source of the power of the Bermuda Triangle.
Yeah. Yeah,
Who knows?
It definitely could. But so that is on one half of the world. On the other half of the world, if I type in this coordinate right here, and we're going back here, and I plug it in, let's go see that airport that Monish 84 was talking about. Now.
That's just a bunch of blue.
Now, I know what you're thinking. This does not look like an airplane to you? So,
wow, yeah, no, I see that.
now look at its surrounding. A lot of people are saying that this image right here isn't the focal point. It's the black mass around it, which could become the tip of a pyramid. So this was
No,
Okay.
no, I'm sorry, but I'm not buying that.
You're not buying it? All right. You're not buying it? Okay. So here's what I wanted to pull up. This one right here. So this is sort of. Oh, by the way, this is 8 miles wide.
Wow.
So this color of light and image here is 8 miles wide. So that's a big object, whatever it is. Some people are saying that it could be an underwater air base. It could be a pyramid. It could be a spacecraft. It does look like point wing.
Well, I'm one of the people that are I'm interested in the idea that perhaps aliens are not from outer space but are from underwater, under the earth.
What are they called? USOs, unidentified submerged objects, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Britta, you're not buying this, are you?
No.
No. Let's see. People in the chat. Again, just back to the airports, back to the underwater airports, and so nothing about that, guys. Let us know what you think about this. If you're sort of
and just the basic theme of this podcast is that we're just trying to throw out interesting ideas to kind of get your mind thinking. We're not trying to prove any points to you.
Yeah.
Because, can I explain why I feel skeptical about this?
Yeah.
So this area is in what is known as like the Ring of Fire.
The Ring
the
of
Pacific Ocean.
Who?
Well, this is the Atlantic, I think.
No, this one's in the Pacific.
Oh, okay.
Wait, are you sure?
Yes.
Okay.
So the Ring of Fire goes around the whole outside of the Pacific Ocean, but the idea is that basically there's large areas of hot spots underneath the Earth.
Okay.
And that's why there's so many volcanoes there, because there's lots of magma movement happening there.
I did not know that. So
Yeah.
you're saying that's sort of where these formations are coming from.
Well, yeah, it could be that. And the other thing is that like there are different like we break up rocks by their coloring a lot of times, and one of the styles is ultramafic, which is a Pacific rock generally.
Specifically Pacific.
Yes, and it's super dark, and it's created by really hot magma that is deposited and lithifies really quickly. So this could also like, I don't know, I kind of feel like this might just be like a magma hotspot that dried up a long time ago.
Really?
Yeah.
But
like,
you don't see the connection? You don't see the spacecraft little thingy right here?
it could just be a cloud.
A cloud, a 7 mile line.
Well, this is a good topic for further research.
It is.
The people that are theorists about this perhaps have discussed the theory. So we'll get back to you guys on that.
Yeah, no, definitely. And please weigh in. If you're looking at this and you say that looks a little interesting, or you're on Britta's side here and you're calling bull, please let us know, because
Be on my side, please.
be on Britta's side. Lord knows she needs somebody on her side.
That's not nice.
No, I'm just saying. Anywho, my friends. Now. Oh, I'm sorry. That was 8.5 miles across, and it was found in 2016 by Marcel Igasusta. There are reports going around of something called a crystal pyramid. So if you're Googling the pyramids and you see something called the crystal pyramid, buyer beware. That may be a scam. What the crystal pyramid is back in 2012, there was reports that a Dr. Verlag, she's an oceanographer, apparently said she found a massive crystal pyramid using sonar that was 3 times the size of the Giza pyramids, specifically Khufu, the biggest one, 6,500 feet below the ocean. Yeah. And apparently she held a press conference in Bermuda. And this is what everyone says that it looks like. This little guy right here. So that's the crystal pyramid, and apparently it's smack dab right in the Bermuda Triangle, just like the pyramids that were recently the images of what could be pyramids were just discovered. Those 2 ones we talked about. Only problem, my friends, is that there's no record of this woman existing or the press conference or any proof. So this is sort of a ghost story that's been going around from 2012, which reemerged again in 2016. So if you're researching and see something called the crystal pyramid, just know that I looked hard, couldn't find any facts or record of this Verlag lady. So, where do we want to go from here?
You tell me.
All right. I want to talk quickly about what's called ley lines. And a ley line isn't... I was going to tell a shitty joke about getting off a plane in Hawaii and they hand you those leys. I was going to say it's not one of those.
It's spelled differently.
It is. This is spelled Ley. And apparently ley lines are the alignment of landforms, places of ancient religious significance or culture, often including man-made structures. They are ancient straight paths or routes in landscape which are believed to have spiritual significance. What the hell does all that mean?
So now we're getting into kind of, what are the real reasons for pyramids,
Yeah.
Are they just burial tombs for people? There are so many interesting things that Chris is going to get into about the placement of all these pyramids.
Yeah, and what I want to talk about that's why were they built where they were built, right? So these ley lines was made by this guy coined by this guy, Alfred Watkins, in 1921. He was pretty much noticing that churches and places of religious or spiritual significance were sort of along the same lines or paths. So he started investigating, and then in sort of 1960 era, this whole thing exploded, right? And a ley line is, my friend, pretty much this, and I promise you, I am not a crazy person. I'm showing you this right here. Basically, think of the ley line as sort of, so you know how the human body has chakras? Sort of those spiritual energy points. That is pretty much what they are proposing is on the earth. And the thing is that at these intersections are the most energized places. And we can see that we have Machu Picchu, Easter Island are intersecting points. Mohenjo-Daro, Angkor Wat,
and the granddaddy of them all.
Yeah, in Giza, just chilling right in one of the 4 main ones here. So think about the ley line. Anything on this line could be pretty sketchy, and I found that a lot of regular earthquakes sort of if there's an earthquake, there's a good chance it's going to happen on one of these ley lines. But this is sort of the reasoning for that idea of where they're placed. And so I didn't really put much, I was like, I'm not going to do too much on this. But, my friends, I did find out if we take the image of, let's go to the underwater Argentina. No. Nope. Goodness gracious. There, that's what I wanted. So kill that. Thank you. Have a good day here. Okay, so if we look, I would say that's pretty close. Because you got Florida, right?
Oh, for the underwater one.
That's what I'm thinking. They sort of are near, you know? Britta, go ahead, Britta. I can already hear, without even looking at her, I can hear the dissatisfaction in her voice. What? I'm just saying it's cool. I'm just saying it's cool that it lines
cool.
up.
I'm not disagreeing. It is very cool, but it seems a little bit like confirmation bias.
Well, the other thing,
Like somebody was like, "Oh, well, look at all this stuff that I've already figured out on these lines," and then, if I put these lines together, this makes sense.
yeah, that's exactly how it works. I mean, that's what conspiracies are. Like confirmation bias is pretty prevalent in this world.
Oh
You
yeah,
want it to be
totally.
true,
But
yeah.
like, I don't know.
But the other thing that researchers suggest is that current navigational patterns that airlines and militaries use go along these lines as well, and that's based on almost a century and even going further for shipping lanes. That's going over 200 years of modern knowledge about all these navigational routes and why we should use them, and these are things that perhaps people centuries ago, the ancient Egyptians had this knowledge.
What's the similarity between the ley lines and the major wind currents on the Earth?
I don't know. Am I supposed to know that?
Well, I'm just saying, like, because that's
how is wind currents going to determine where man-made objects are placed?
Well,
like
the first person that ever tracked the way that wind currents were working they were sailors. They were looking at the ocean and how they could move the fastest in the ocean. And ocean currents were actually noticed by sailors as well. Because wind and water, when they work together, they make fastest routes, which allow for fastest transport. So it could also be that this stuff just happens to sit, and we know throughout history that people have just lined up basically along those fastest, most efficient routes. So it could be that I'm not saying that you're not
happen. You're not saying no. You're just
I'm not saying
that,
no. I'm just saying that the ley lines make sense.
Yeah.
If you look at it from that perspective of they're also showing paths of most travel.
Okay.
And that's where things would be located.
All right. Well, counterpoint from Laura at Reach Nirvana. She says they all form triangles.
Illuminati.
Jefferson.
Well, I mean, the point is...
Technically, the ones on the bottom and the top don't form triangles.
The point is that all of these pyramids were built, thousands of years before we have any evidence that these civilizations were sailing with each other. So there's all kinds of There's all kinds of interesting things like an Egyptian pharaoh found in Egypt in a pyramid. The corpse of the mummy was found with cocoa and nicotine in his system. And from what we know about cocoa, we can make chocolate and make cocaine out of it, but it was never brought over to that area of the world until much, much later.
That
cocoa,
we know of.
Right, exactly. So
even then, how would they have? I mean,
and then there's also the idea that different artistic, themes, different artistic. Forms and methods have been seen in different parts of the world way before we have any evidence of travel. So it's just quite interesting.
Yeah. All I was saying is that the ley lines are very specific things are happening, and again, happen along those lines. And a lot of people say that the ley lines, sort of, again, that Earth's chakra type deal. It's not just a concept that we have in the United States as sort of conspiracy theorists. In China, they're known as dragon lines. In South America, shamans refer to them as spirit lines. In Australia, the Aboriginals call them dream lines. We just happen to call them ley lines. So everyone sort of has these different names for that. In some cultures, this is what they mean when they say feng shui or feng shui. It's sort of the energy in the world. So it's not just us. It's not just us. It's a theory. It's the whole world, baby.
Some pretty sneaky stuff.
It is some pretty sneaky stuff.
That's the name of the show.
That is the name of the show. But I think that we should focus, Jefferson, on the Great Pyramid of Giza, obviously Pharaoh Khufu's tomb.
Okay, yeah. This is, like I said earlier, probably the most interesting pyramid for so many reasons. And this is, this pyramid, this subject of pyramids is so dense. We could, talk about this for a long, long time. The first interesting thing, you keep talking about Khufu, I think it was a pharaoh that...
Cuckoo for Khufu. That was terrible.
So the alleged story is that, he was the person that commissioned the pyramid to be built.
Yes.
Just a little tidbit is one interesting theory is that he perhaps, that civilization as it grew, the pyramid was there already, and they just kind of took credit for it.
Oh, so okay.
You see this happening a lot when people say, people look at burial sites and they see hieroglyphics and they say, well, the hieroglyphics must have been the people that built this structure.
Yeah.
When, most archaeologists these days really take into account the idea of the hieroglyphics can be just graffiti. Ancient graffiti.
I don't, just not to interrupt, but at the beginning I showed you the picture of son of a bitch, now I won't be able to pull it up. The picture of Cholula, this little guy right here. I believe that it's like this, like the earth has grown over it. So, it's like Mother Earth is reclaiming some of these man-made structures. This is a man-made structure underneath it. So, as Jefferson said, it's just because they're in it doesn't mean that it was totally reformed by the time they got there.
And it's not only that site, hundreds and probably thousands of ancient sites, burial sites around the world have been underground for ages. People don't realize this, but many of the pyramids were underground and they've been dug up.
That's insane. To me, that's insane.
Yeah, my parents were just in Israel, and pretty much every site they went to was underground, buried within, under 20 feet of earth.
I swear.
For hundreds of years.
I swear, there's like a clan of dwarves underneath us from Lord of the Rings. I swear. Literally Middle Earth.
I mean, you think about, it's hard for us in America to understand, but this is where civilization started. There's hundreds and, there's centuries and centuries of civilizations that have, come and gone.
Yeah, just shout out to Silver Rose, TD Farrell, and Mano 12345 who just came in the chat room. What's going on, guys?
Hey guys, what's up? So to get more into the craziness of the Great Pyramid of Giza, there's the Giza area where there's those 3 pyramids, but
yes,
the big one is the Great Pyramid of Giza that we're talking about, and there's just so many interesting things. Let's talk about the crazy mathematics involved. That's the 3 there.
Yeah, we never actually showed you guys a picture of the Great Pyramids of Giza.
So those are the 3 there. Yeah. That's in Egypt.
Not the camels. 1, 2, and obviously this one is the big brother of the 2. One of the pyramids was built for Khufu's son, which is only a couple feet below him, but it was built on a higher terrain to appear larger, and one of them is just sort of... I do not know. But yeah, Big Daddy, little brother, or little son, and stuff like that. Jefferson, continue.
So currently in 2017, those... So in 2017, those pyramids are still being researched to this date. So currently we know about 3 chambers that are inside the pyramid. There's the king's chamber, the queen's chamber, which is slightly smaller, and then there's a 3rd chamber. There's also air shafts, or we don't know what the shafts are for, but there's shafts up and down the pyramid. So we'll get into that as well.
Mm-hmm.
Did you just black it out?
I did just hit the accidental black button. I was hoping nobody would notice. But Britta, of course, is the fucking one to bring it up.
Sorry.
I wanted to go to pictures that Jefferson was talking about. Jefferson's talking about the shafts of the pyramid. And those look something like this. Really intricate, sort of like these tunnel systems, which obviously the railings I don't know if I doubt the railings were there.
The railings are new, definitely.
And those shafts go up and down in a diagonal manner in the pyramids.
That's insane.
Now, when the pyramid was initially built, the outer edge was totally perfectly flat. We to this day we don't really know how they got the stone to be cut that well. If you can just scroll up a tiny bit more.
Yeah.
So on the top of the pyramid, that outer shell that I'm talking about is still remains. So that's what researchers use to determine the actual size of how it was. The original dimensions.
Okay, yeah. Yeah.
So like you said earlier, there were over 2 million blocks of stone were used.
Yeah.
Over 13 acres of land. So let's get into the crazy mathematics involved.
Okay.
Now, if you guys, our listeners, for the folks at home, if they don't know about sacred geometry, look it up. It's a topic definitely for another podcast. But the gist of it is that there are these cool patterns in math that show up in all aspects of life. These patterns show up in the curvature of a butterfly's wing. They also show up in something like the length and proportion of our bones. So everything in nature kind of follows these really cool patterns. So that's why, just to get off topic a tiny bit, this is something that makes me believe in a higher power, a creator, some creator of the universe, because these are all formulas that he might have used or she might have used.
My vote for aliens.
Is this the same thing as like the golden ratio
Exactly.
and the Fibonacci numbers and all that?
Yep.
Okay, cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, look up Fibonacci, phi, not pi. Pi's also
delicious.
Pi's just a cool number.
Yeah. So these figures that I'm going to read now, they're from a website called goldennumber.net. So if you look at the height and the base of the pyramid, the ratio is 0.636, which indicates it is indeed a golden triangle, which is based on, as Britta said, the golden ratio, known as phi. So here's a picture of it right here.
Yeah, well, let's look at that. Okay, small, but now it's big.
So, in sacred geometry, one of the shapes, one of the sacred shapes is the pyramid. And that just in itself inherently has a lot of cool, interesting ideas.
So this is the golden ratio.
Yeah, basically the ratio of the height to the base of the pyramid.
Oh, see, I failed geometry, so this is where...
Hey, I failed everything. It wasn't
wow.
until...
Yeah, I fail everything.
No, my point is, it wasn't until after, a piss poor education in public schools that I really realized how fun it is to just learn.
Do not even get me started on that. I have so many strong opinions about the public education system, how it prevents us from having our own interests.
Well,
whoa.
We're probably preaching to the choir here.
Yeah.
Okay, so
to go a little further, these dimensions are not, it's not just rough estimates here. These dimensions are calculated to within 3 decimal places of accuracy. So we know that if the base is indeed exactly 230.4 meters, then a perfect golden ratio would have a height of 146.5367.
Oh my God!
It's a lot of numbers, but just keep in mind that this it varies from the estimated actual dimensions of the Great Pyramid by only 0.0367 meters. Okay?
What?
That's 1.4 inches. So,
what?
It's perfection within just a difference of 1.4 inches.
And that's like a how long ago did you say that this was built? Do we have an estimate?
Yeah, BC, thousands of years BC.
Okay, yeah. So there's definitely enough time in there for a weathering ratio that would account for 1.4 inches.
Yep.
I'm still looking at the math problem that Jefferson presented.
Well, it
is
a lot of numbers.
Sitting here silently trying to read it. Like,
just
what is
for
going on?
For the folks at home, just Google it if you're interested. But it could be the erosion, or researchers also suggest that it could be just a difference in rounding, just to error.
That too.
So
I get lazy and round things all the time. Laura from Nirvana clearly not happy with the public education system.
Yeah, like I said, if anyone's watching this podcast, they're probably not the kind of person that thinks our public education is okay by any stretch.
Hey, but we accept all types of people at this podcast.
We do.
So if you feel like the public education system did you well, good for you.
Okay.
God bless.
All right. So
God bless the U.S.
Anyway,
I feel you, Laura.
Exactly. So
take it away, Jefferson.
Well, this is just the tip of the iceberg.
Oh my God!
I mean, the mathematics just get crazy. Each of the 3 pyramids are perfectly aligned to true north. Okay. They're perfectly aligned to within 1/15th of a degree.
What does that mean, aligned to true north?
So the front of each pyramid is facing the North Pole.
North.
Okay.
So, and this is centuries before we have any invention of any compass. Okay. So if you look at the pyramids from above, I think we might have a picture of that.
Pyramids from above.
So
Let me see. All three above. Was this the one you want?
yeah. So
the
That
pyramids
last
you're looking
one's
for?
like comically tiny.
Yeah. See, this is the guy who doesn't have a self-image problem.
But here's my point. If you're not going to use a compass, the only other logical thing is you're going to place these pyramids by, looking from above. And they had no means of getting from above except for perhaps maybe it
Aliens?
was, yeah.
So when you say true north,
Yeah.
all these are showing true north?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. So pretty crazy.
Pretty
So-
sneaky, if you ask me.
So also, these figures are from a website, collectiveevolution.com. The pyramid is 750 feet long at its base, situated along the four cardinal points, north, south, east, and west. The ratio, okay, listen to this. The ratio of its circumference to its original height is equal to the value of pi, 3.14.
That's wild. Okay, Pi's back here.
Okay, listen to this.
Yeah.
Keep in mind, pi was not supposed to have been even known about for another 1,000 years.
So either someone plagiarized or someone...
Or what a lot of
back in
people
time.
think is that these ancient civilizations did have, knowledge that was, superior or equal to our current knowledge.
I think it's terrifying.
So, you can go a step farther, because people believe that, in modern history, Western civilization, aliens might have helped us with knowledge of nuclear power, the television,
I think
electricity, all
they
kinds of things.
inadvertently helped us.
Who knows?
I think
there's-
that we weren't
There's so many theories, but
I believe in the theory
Maybe they
of,
knew that they helped us, but we didn't.
someone remind me to talk about the UFOs over the United States' nuclear launch testings. Just that's so interesting. Google that, UFOs over U.S. nuclear launch testing. Sorry,
will
go
do.
on.
All right.
Yeah, they kept getting sabotaged.
So
it was wild.
a couple more quick, interesting points that kind of feed into the narrative of how on earth did they know all of these things. Is that has to do with the circumference of the Earth. So there's measurements that have been done that figure into the circumference of the Earth. The way the calculations work is that the actual size of our planets come into the math. Okay, so how did this ancient civilization, first of all, have any idea the size of our planet without any kind of? Even to this day, it's very difficult for us to determine with accuracy how big our planet is. So
Dude,
how
half the population thinks our planet is half.
and that's flat.
It's fucking flat.
Well, that's the second thing.
For God's sakes, people. We're
That's-
going back in time intelligence-wise.
Well, that's the next thing. These mathematics, the way it was built, knew about the circumference of the Earth.
yeah.
But at this time, we didn't even think that the
they-
Earth was spherical.
Yeah, see, it's like they knew it was a sphere, and then everyone sort of forgot about that knowledge, and they're like, oh, okay, it's flat.
Well, it's not that they knew that we know they knew it was
They had
round.
they had an idea.
But these mathematic formulas that go into
Yeah.
the building of the pyramid
Yeah.
point to these things.
I don't know, man.
Just to go farther, there's also a lot of math where you can find that the speed of light is calculated with the measurements of the sides of the pyramid. And then the last thing I'll bring
pretty
up,
fast.
the last thing I'll bring up is just that those three pyramids
Yes.
in Giza are
Yes.
lined up to the three main stars in the constellation Orion.
Orion and his belt hanging out at Giza. Naughty Orion. Hey, shout out to Monish, who's back in the chat. Blysider?
Oh, I wish I speaked a little bit of Espanol.
No, you don't.
Only un poco.
No, you don't.
All right, well, that's weird.
But just to kind of put a button on that, are we to really believe that these ancient civilizations were this advanced? Were this advanced in their knowledge of science, mathematics, and the planet? Maybe, but maybe still, did they have help with this knowledge?
I think that they definitely did. Because I just think that it's oh, that's nice. I don't know. I just think that it's way too much of a coincidence, that the fact that all of these shapes are built all around the Earth, 200 in China alone, the fact that we're finding carvings identical to each other all over the world when we didn't even think that sort of trade and travel was possible at that time.
How about this?
For Christ's sake, how did they cross an ocean back then?
How about this? On all the hundreds of pyramids, there have only been a handful that actually had a corpse inside. So were they really all for burial tombs?
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what about grave robbing?
Well, that is,
okay, yeah.
That's what
When
some
does
people say.
archaeology just become grave robbing?
Yeah, no, that is a good point. A lot of people will say that.
Yikes. Here comes a theory coming from Laura. Math is a man-constructed concept, so perhaps a lot of the math that we have today was built around the construction of the pyramids, which could therefore explain why all of our current math seems to have so many connections to the pyramids.
That's an interesting point.
I like that idea.
That is, and hopefully Monash fixes her thing, by the way. It doesn't seem to be working. That's wild. How that's sort of like a reverse thing, like all the pyramid adds up to the math. That's because the math came from the pyramid.
Yeah, I mean, but does it hold up when you start to think about, the curvature of the butterfly's wing that I was mentioning, or like how many pine needles there are on a tree, things like that?
I think that we are in over our head, and I like it a lot.
See, I don't think math is a man-made construct. I think it's not an invention, but more a discovery.
I believe that.
So
I definitely believe that.
I mean, to me, it's kind of like electricity.
Yeah.
It wasn't invented; it was discovered.
But speaking of discoveries, talk about a segue. Wasn't there some sort of discoveries going on inside the Great Pyramid?
Yes, sir.
Something about secret doors and such.
What?
So,
secret doors.
Tell me more.
This is from the 90s. The
90s.
This group was, researching the pyramid.
Okay.
And like I said before, there's these shafts. So at a point where they were allowed to go in there and kind of do a little bit of research, they were actually developed a robot. This guy named Rudolf Gantenbrink. And if we show the website here, we can scroll down, and there's actually a picture of the robot right here.
That was in the 90s?
Yep. So what they did... There we go.
He looks like Moby.
So
iRobot.
So yeah, these are just pictures of the.
Just give me a minute here. Okay, all right, we're back. I'm sorry, Jefferson.
So if you go to the top here, that's actually a diagram of the shafts. The different places that we know about.
It seems like there's so much unused space.
Oh, exactly. I mean, there's probably space that we just don't know about yet. But if we scroll down a little farther, keep going. So there's pictures there of the actual tunnel, and there's also a video that we could show.
Yeah. You want to get that video?
It's pretty cool, actually.
I'll get you that damn video.
So, in 1993, they went in for the first time. You can hit play right there,
right.
And so in 93, they went in with this robot, which has the camera and a little drill on the front. And so this is kind of what it looks like. And so you can scroll forward maybe a little bit, because they came upon something interesting, a door right there.
So how tall was this shaft? Do we know?
So we just saw a picture of it. It's about a foot, on each side.
Wow. No, I didn't. Okay, yeah. I keep forgetting this is a small robot.
Yep. So that's a door. So if we go back, we can go back to our notes now. What basically they found this door, but they were pretty sure that there was an open space behind it.
Okay.
But they had to wait about 10 years to get permission to
10 years.
10 years to drill into
what?
that. With all of the, these sacred sites, it's really difficult to get permission for it.
I'm getting real sick of this whole sacred stuff getting in the way of
Well,
science.
I mean, there's two schools of thought. We don't want to lose the integrity of the structures. So,
I mean, they're not blowing it up. Unless they are.
Back in the day, they would blow up walls and stuff, and so that's a good reason for a lot of these, governmental organizations to try to put a stop on it. But they're actually run by some pretty corrupt people in the eyes of researchers.
Okay.
But so after that 10 years in 2003,
Britta, are you paying attention?
I am paying attention.
Okay, just making sure.
So they were actually able to drill into the doors.
Okay.
So that's where you see on that website, you see the doors with a hole drilled onto it.
Doors with the hole drilled on to it.
so
That little guy right there.
So yeah, that. Yep, right there. So the top one, if you scroll up a little bit, that was in 93 right
Yep,
there.
93.
And then in 2003, that's right there. So
These doors so small.
so what they saw when they drilled into this hole
Yeah.
was an image. So let's go to that image. Let's show our audience what they found.
You want to go to that image?
Mm-hmm.
I'll get you that damn image.
So
Get you that damn.
So keep in mind, they went through all this trouble to drill through this door. They found something, and it made them very excited.
Give me 1 second.
So-
Talk about the image some more. I did not have it loaded.
Well, basically, it's a creepy image, and when the head, there it is, right there.
and here we go.
So
So
when
that was inside.
so what does that look like to you?
That looks like some sort of bipedal organism with a giant cranial skull cap.
Yep,
The big head.
kind of spooky, right? In
Got
other
a
words,
little like tail off the top of his head, like a ponytail.
an alien, right?
Jesus Christ, man buns were back in that.
So
Yeah.
in other words, you're talking about an alien, perhaps, right?
Yeah.
So when the head of all of this, when the guy that was actually like overseeing it for the Egyptian government saw this, this guy right here.
You wanna
What a stud.
You want to show his face?
Yeah, right there.
Look at that.
He's not afraid to show his face.
What a sexy man.
Look at that. Nice pores. Great pores.
Yeah, he gets points for the weathered, Indiana
Indiana
Jones type looking guy. But anyway, what's his name?
His name.
I forgot how to pronounce it.
His name is
So-
Zahi Hawass.
Yep, Zahi Hawass. So he was in charge of this dig, this investigation.
Mm-hmm.
And, people in the archaeology world, they
Don't like
really
him.
don't like this guy.
Yeah, if he's putting up such a fucking fight over why I can't gently press into the pyramid.
Well, he saw this picture.
Yeah.
And it must have spooked him because he put a kibosh on the investigation right away.
Oh, my God.
And so since they saw that image,
Yeah.
and they think, the researchers can detect openings, chambers beyond that point. So it's so enticing because these people want to go farther, dig a little bit more into this. But
So when you say they opened up the door and they saw this,
yeah.
what was it, a room or was it just this?
Yeah, it was this was the end of that room when they opened up the door.
But there was nothing in the room?
I mean, you gotta remember they had this minuscule
A
camera.
little robot that couldn't really see anything. And
I mean, so yeah, they got a glimpse, and this is the glimpse that they got.
that's, I want to see to me, it's insane, right? It's insane that all this stuff is built. You build such a friggin' big, where's that? That's not, no. You build such a friggin' big room, or big, oh, okay, now Jesus Christ, Chris.
Hit
what
the
are we
back
doing?
button.
Oh my gosh. You build such, and we're back to my rant. You build such a thing like this. We are cooking with gas today. Look at all this dead space. And for the doorway to be that small, listen, I'm pretty sure when I said dwarves earlier, I don't think the Egyptians were, little baby people. So to make these doorways so small,
With the absence of light, how did they
no
do all
light-
this with no light?
no light.
I mean, you would have to go through thousands and thousands, millions of torches.
Is this ventilation? Do we know?
It could be ventilation. I mean, you're getting into some people, or that was the original thought, was that it's ventilation, but I
Yeah.
think researchers have kind of stopped that.
If you're using all these torches for light, right? Because that's the only source of light you had back then. Edison was not around. All this stuff, or Tesla. All this stuff.
It just doesn't make sense to me.
You have 10,000 people with all these torches. That's carbon monoxide right there, I'll tell you.
So there's all these unanswered questions, and that's
Yeah.
what really feeds all of these theories.
Interesting. Let's go check out the... Laura says they use mirrors for light.
Well, that's an interesting theory, but if you've ever seen the Mythbusters episode, that was pretty difficult with even modern technology. So
Really?
no, but I mean, yeah, possibly.
Okay. Laura, why don't you check out the Mythbusters, who apparently have debunked your thoughts.
No, they didn't debunk it. They just made it look insanely difficult on a small scale. Okay, on a scale of like hundreds of feet and not thousands.
Monish, very poetic. The essence of perfection and beauty is in symmetry. It is most flawlessly executed, naturally occurring in nature. Little baby people. Wahahaha. Thank you for that. Okay, so we got Zahui Huaz, who's being a total pain in our Huaz.
So yeah, he was basically his title was Chief Inspector of Giza in the 90s.
Chief Inspector.
In the noughts, the zeros, the 2000s, whatever you want to call it.
The knots. Did you write that?
I wrote that because it's called. That's what it's really called.
It is
the knots?
I figured you guys wouldn't know what I was talking about, but that's
I
what
wouldn't.
it's really
I wouldn't
called.
know.
That's why I said the zeros.
I
are
knew
the
what you were
two.
Look at
talking
that.
about.
What
Well-
a day of age where I am teasing those who know more than me.
So-
Jesus Christ.
So
That never happened.
in that time period, he was the Secretary General of the Egyptian Supreme Council of Antiquities. So it was around this
Okay.
time when this guy, Zahi Hawass, Dr. Zahi Hawass,
he's a doctor.
he stopped the investigation after that drawing was found. It just brings up questions.
Asshole right there.
It just brings up questions. Who does he answer to, and why are they trying to stop?
Why is he so angry about it? Don't you think if you... Okay, so like my mom has watched Antiques Roadshow before, and I'm sure I would love the program.
I
as
love the
well.
show.
I'm sure I would. But okay, so I feel like you bring an antique to a collector or an antiquity aficionado. What's the first thing they want to do? They want to learn everything about that. So if you have the lead chief inspector of the Egyptian Antiquity Council, whatever you just said, when his job is solely on the antiquities of Egypt, and you have the biggest antique of all, the most mysterious one, and you just found a piece of the puzzle that could link you back to that, wouldn't you just, your natural curiosity take over?
Yeah.
Unless you were like forced into that position and you're like, I fucking hate this job. No one gets in.
Well, who knows?
You know, it just doesn't make sense. Why wouldn't he want to learn as much as possible about his country? And
Well, it makes a whole lot of sense if the secrets behind this are known to them. If it really is
Yeah.
alien technology, it's
Yeah.
something that has. That's but what I've been trying to say for the past hour is that
Yeah.
these are things that have been pushed pushed away.
I'm even talking about from like a tourism point, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, you got the pyramids are huge tourism.
Yeah.
If you crack open more. Like, you know what I'm saying? If you break, like pyramids right now, there's no new news. There's no new news. Right?
Yeah.
It's like, oh great,
Well-
it's a big fucking pyramid. But now for like, hey, there's a new chamber. Ooh, it's like a new ride at Disney Park. You
Well,
know?
I mean-
Well, I mean, there's also the possibility, like this is talking about conspiracy theories. Like this is just something I literally just cooked out of my own head. But
This may be the only insightful thing Britta has said tonight.
shut up.
I'm joking. What? I'm joking.
It could be that they do know about chambers. Like the government in Egypt knows about chambers in the pyramids, and they're just keeping stuff in there. Like if I had access to the pyramids and I wanted to hide something, it seems like a great place. And so you're just like, hey, dude, anytime that anyone wants to go near these particular areas, tell them no. And we'll just give you extra money.
Yeah, exactly.
You'd be like, yeah, okay, I'm not going to question that. Like, the government wants to hide some shit, whatever. Like, our government hides shit all the time. So it could be that we do know, like, someone does know
Yeah.
That's what
some other parts of it.
That's
It
what I'm
just-
trying to say. That's what
Yeah.
this guy's job is.
Yeah.
Exactly. He's hiding it. But it's not necessarily because there's, like, aliens in there or something. It could just be, like, that's where Egypt, I don't know, keeps, like, a bomb or something.
So, hey, we do welcome any and all criticism and other opinions here. Myself, Jefferson, and Britta will tell you time and time again, we are not experts. We are simply offering you a viewpoint. So we do have Mano's viewpoint completely going against ours, and we love
what?
that.
Huh? The idea of the flat Earth.
Oh, so we got right here.
That's one of my favorite theories out there.
Yeah.
I mean, it is crazy, because what we've been told for a long time is that but if you really look at it, there's no evidence, that the Earth is round. We've only been told it.
I love that theory.
It's just so much fun. It's the conspiracy. To me, the reason I love it is it's the theory that is simultaneously the most out there, the most crazy, but also has the most, evidence that it's true.
If you think about it, what are the only... It's like, okay, what images have you seen of the Earth?
You've never seen a picture.
I think that we're going into a different podcast topic right now.
I know, but I just want to say that, like the first thing that I say to someone is like, when they, have you seen an image of the Earth? And they say yes. And I go, where did that image come from?
Yeah,
NASA.
There's never been a picture.
There's no
taken
independent.
Well, no, it's not that. It's not only that it's from NASA. They'll freely admit that there's never been a picture taken, one picture of the Earth. They're all composite images. I think it's awesome. The other thing is gravity can't be proven.
Ooh.
We know that it's there, but we don't know why or how.
Ooh, interesting. Yeah, I think Britta's right. That is a definite other podcast here that we can do. And there's tons of information for and against it, and it's wild. But that's why I like conspiracies so much, is that fucking anything can happen, and it's awesome. So real quick, Jefferson, do you have any information about the new chamber that was just opened?
Oh, yeah. Well, sure. I'll touch on that a little bit. Like I said, when I did start researching this, I didn't realize that how much is currently going on. It's not just like an old, dusty topic of pyramids. So this year, you're listening to us in 2017, for folks that might be listening in the future.
Yeah, when the world ends, you can dust open this MP3.
Recently, in the Great Pyramid of Giza, they found something, that they didn't know existed. It's I think a 30-meter chamber that is brand new to our knowledge, and we really don't know anything about it at the moment.
I showed a picture earlier which contained it, and let me see.
This company, if you see that, it says Scan Pyramids. This is the company that basically found the chamber. They used crazy detection technology that actually is not intrusive. It didn't ruin anything. They did this thing where they shot something called muons into the air, and muons are these particles that are made from the radiation of the sun. I can't get into how they did it, but this is the basically organization that discovered that chamber. So definitely check that out.
Yeah, and I mean, I say it again. I said it before. I'll say it again. Look at all this wasted space here. Yeah. I think that an architect would want to maximize the space as much as possible.
And I know
what is going on in this room right here?
I know we're kind of running out of time, but some of the possible uses for this pyramid, people think it might have been a water pump connected to the Nile.
Water supply, okay.
Water filtration. Okay. Now that chamber, people know that the chamber themselves are lined with limestone, and people wonder about the pyramids actually being power plants, giant power plants.
I had heard that they were giant power plants.
So basically they would use those shafts. The shafts would be a conduit for vibrations, frequencies that are deep within the earth that can be used to create this just insane amount of power that can power batteries and electronics, from miles around without the use of any kind of wires.
I just think that this whole concept is insane, but insane in a good way, insane in a fun way, and I think this amusement park is going to be insane. Britta, do you have anything for us at this time, Miss Britta?
I went into this not really knowing a ton about the idea of the pyramids and all of the suspicious stuff that's happened.
Yeah.
I'm not 100% sure what I'm feeling right now, whether or not I'm necessarily pulled to either side. I definitely feel like I need to go on my own and find out some more.
Yeah.
But this was all very intriguing.
It's funny. Britta texted me today and she goes, do I have to do any research?
No, I said I can't do any research.
Yeah, I can't. And I was like, no, just sit there. We'll just vomit a bunch of facts mixed with theories, mixed with I don't know, hypotheticals and all this fun stuff. And we'll really just get, and I know that you know some about, what are you, a mineralogist?
I'm an earth scientist.
Earth scientist. Soon to be.
Eventually.
So I just think it would be interesting, getting your thoughts on the whole thing. I know Jefferson has been incredibly interested in celestial math and just all this crazy
that stuff was really hardcore.
Yeah, all this stuff's really cool.
Yeah, so I just want, as we check out here, hey, Monish says that there's a documentary on Dr. Zahi, and she saw him verbally obliterate someone who suggested alien technology. He's committed to the idea that ancient slaves moved all the stones by hand and had no outside assistance. It was fascinating. I really wish they would put it back on air. Well, maybe we could be able to find something that on
Yeah, I'm going to research
Google.
that. I mean, I'm wondering who is behind him, who he's working for.
Yeah. Laura reached Nirvana. Definitely not here in the flat Earth theory.
It's just so
Same,
cool. It's
Laura.
it's just so funny. I do not believe it. It's just so funny to me.
I don't believe it either, but I think it's awesome. She says the Earth cannot be flat. If it were flat, there'd be no center of gravity. The world would literally fall apart. That is, if it's not floating on the back of a giant sea turtle. That is also a theory floating through space and time. But speaking of theories and other conspiracy, pretty sneaky stuff related, I think that we are out of time as we reach our hour. The hours go by so quickly here, and we have more content to talk about, obviously, 2 weeks from now. So whether you're bringing information to the chat, facts, controversies, your opinions, make sure to give them to us so we can definitely check those out during the show, interact with you, and really just have fun. So Jefferson, any last thoughts? Any last thoughts here, Jefferson?
Geez, right now, the crazy allegations of Kevin Spacey and Louis C.K., that's what I'm into right now.
Yeah.
I guess real quickly, if you want me to be really quick.
Yeah.
I don't think this would be happening if we didn't have a president who admitted to doing what, all of these people are being accused of now. Okay, just think about that, and maybe we'll talk about it at another podcast.
We'll talk about that in we'll have a political podcast. How about that?
Okay.
All right. And it'll just be called the Mud Fest, and it'll just be a dirty, dirty mud fest.
Oh gosh.
Britta, you're not invited to that.
Don't you want all sides?
All sides. So for all of you guys hanging out in the chat, thank you very much for stopping on by. I had fun, and I hope you had fun as well. You can find this on YouTube, twitch.tv/SlashStory. Listen to it on SoundCloud, iTunes, all that fun stuff. Search for Slash Story. But in the meantime, my friends, we hope that you stay safe, and you be sure to watch out for that pretty sneaky stuff. Goodbye.
Bye.